food. Sana walang laman na mabigat. Open. Got it. I'm ready. Okay. Okay. We're starting because it's 3:59. Okay. So here we go. In a minute, I will now share screen. I know, well, when I share screen, I can't see my script. Can you be the one to share, Chassis?
Did he send it to me?
Wait.
No, I don't have it.
Forwarding it now. Okay, sent. And if you can't do it, I'll do partial screen share. I'm planning for partial screen share in case you can't. Did you receive it?
Where did you send it? Ateneo?
I don't
Email?
know. I just put Noel.
Oh, okay. I don't see it.
And again.
It's still not here. Wait.
Okay, I'll send again. If not, I'll just go
I'm looking at both Yahoo and
Wala.
Wala.
I'll do partial.
Wait, let's give it a minute. Where is it?
Screen share partial. Okay. What do you see?
Wala. You're okay. Yeah, that's
Our page can be seen.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. No.
Clear na.
Yan, ganyan. Okay.
That's okay na, Nikki. Clear na siya.
Okay, Nikki.
I'm starting. Good afternoon. This is Contacts and Continuities, 500 Years of Asian-Iberian Encounters, an international conference online hosted by Ateneo de Manila University in collaboration with SHAM, Centro de Humanidades Universidad Nova de Lisboa, and the National Quincentennial Committee of the Republic of the Philippines. It's now 4 p.m. Philippine time. Good afternoon from Manila and good morning to Spain. We are live streaming on the conference YouTube channel and the National Quincentennial Committee Facebook page. Good afternoon to all of you, to our guests in the Zoom room, and to all our viewers on social media. I am Nikki Carci Cruz from the Interdisciplinary Studies Department of Ateneo de Manila, and I will be your moderator for today's special panel. Today's special panel was organized with the Philippine Embassy in Spain. And in this special panel, we'll hear the voices of young people who retraced the footsteps of Rizal in Madrid. Before we go on with today's program, what do we have in store for you for this afternoon? Well, for the next 2 hours, we will start with an introduction and an opening remarks, and we will have a video presentation, and we will have a question and answer or discussion with the people who produced this documentary or this video. So we invite everybody from our 3 audiences, our Zoom room, and on YouTube and on Facebook. Anytime you have a comment, question, something you want to ask, and something you want to share that you want our young people to hear, please feel free to type your comments in the chat box and in the comments section, and our community managers will gather all those for you so that we could ask them to our presenters for today. So without further ado, I'd like to first call on, for his opening remarks, Consul General Adrian Elmer Cruz, speaking to us live from Madrid. Congen.
Thank you. On behalf of His Excellency, Ambassador Philip Luwalier, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to this special panel called Retracing the Footsteps of Rizal in Madrid, organized as part of the National Quincentennial Committee and Ateneo de Manila's month-long conference called Contacts and Continuities. In today's panel discussion, historical enthusiasts will get to watch the Philippine Embassy in Spain's virtual walking tour of Rizal's Madrid. After viewing the video, the filmmakers and editorial team composed of JC Amon, Jolina Manalang, Eunice Luciano, as well as the historical consultant, writer and host of the video, Professor Ros Castello, will share their thoughts and ideas as they retraced Rizal's life through their lenses. Filipinos here in Spain have done walking tours before, and a number of them may be viewed mostly in YouTube. This project of the Philippine Embassy in Spain is just the latest addition to the walking tour trend, and we are quite happy that this managed to reach a wider audience. In my view, the video does not just talk about Rizal or the propaganda movement. It is about the efforts of a young generation of Filipinos reconnecting with our history. And more importantly, it is about highlighting the shared past between the Philippines and Spain. I thank Dr. Nikki Carci Cruz and Consul Carlene Monastrial, who will be serving as moderators for today's panel discussion. And I also wish to thank Dr. Feliz Noel Rodriguez for taking part in this special panel as well. I wish that the viewers will get the chance to take this walking tour as your guide as you set foot on Madrid someday. Now that digital technology can be accessible by anyone, and there are so many social media platforms available to post your work, I invite you all to go out, use your smartphone, and start that journey of discovery. And I hope you will be inspired to make your own walking tour wherever you may be about Rizal or any of our heroes and other illustrious personalities in Philippine history. Maraming salamat po, and I hope you enjoy today's panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to introduce the people who are part of the panel. We have three students who will primarily be sharing their experiences. May I call on the first person, JC Amon, to introduce herself. Tell us something about who she is and what she's doing right now. JC?
Hi, good afternoon for the people in the Philippines, and good morning to those watching. Well, good day would be the proper greeting. I'm JC. I currently live in Madrid. I came here in 2018. But before that, I worked in the trade and commerce industry in the Philippines for almost 3 years. And when I moved here, I became a language and cultural assistant, where we teach English to Spanish students. And that's still what I'm doing right now. I'm an English teacher. I teach high school students and even senior high school students. And I also teach toddlers. So yeah.
Thank you very much, JC. And how about you, Julina Manala?
Yes, po. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I am Jolina, and I'm also working here as an auxiliar de conversación. It's a program under the Spanish Ministry. So prior to working here in Spain, I was working for an NGO for education. So it's been my passion since 2014 in the advocacy sector. I started volunteering for the alternative learning system program by the government. And then after that, I also represented in the National Model United Nations, some countries under the UNESCO committee. So education is really my background, and I'm happy that I get to share my knowledge here in Spain, to teach English, to share culture, and to just be me. I mean, being a youth teacher is really something else for the students. And it's nice that they get to be our friends and at the same time, a teacher as well. So I think that's our role here in Madrid.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julina. How old are you guys?
24.
Sorry, I think that is an impolite question if you were of my age.
I think so.
Eunice Luciano.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon from Manila in quarantine, and good morning in Madrid. So, JC and Jelena, I'm also a language and cultural assistant assigned in a public school in Coslada, where I was mostly handling the global classroom project, which is almost similar to the Model United Nations, but just like for high school students. And then they are sent to conference in New York. And apart from that, I'm also part-timing as a
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No worries. I was also part-timing as an English tutor at a private academy and doing freelance illustration and research projects for private individuals. And prior to moving to Madrid as well, I also work as a senior analyst at a investigation firm where we do mostly profiling and background checks on companies and entities. And I actually moved to Madrid with the purpose of getting a master's degree because I want to work for the international organizations like the UN. Um, I've had like volunteer works with with NGOs and with or with foundations related to like humanitarian aid. So that's what I wanted to do. So this coming semester, I will be studying human rights and governance at the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, and hopefully, I'll do it with flying colors. Yeah. So that's about me, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a
It's
reminder, we all studied at the same school. We studied at the La Salle College of St. Benilde, studying the same course, Consular and Diplomatic Affairs, and that's how the three of us met. And we all lived together.
We're in the same flat.
Yeah.
okay. So it's so good to hear people like you who have all your roads before you. And it's thrilling to hear you talk about your plans. It's wonderful. I'm going to call one more person who was also part of that project. Dr. Ross Costello. Well, we in the conference just heard her presentation. So, Doc Ross, can you also introduce yourself?
Hello, good afternoon there in Manila in the Philippines and good morning here in Europe. Magandang araw po sa lahat. So I am Ross Costello. So this is already my second appearance in the Context and Continuities Conference. So but this time around, our focus would be the three girls. No, I call them Las Tres Marias. So that's their code when we were doing this project. Currently I'm now teaching in the University of the Philippines Department of History, but for 5 years until now I'm here in Spain. I first did my master's in history and then my PhD in history. I just finished my PhD. One thing that I think I would want to share to all of you is that for me, this virtual walking tour of Rizal's Madrid is a dream come true because it has been my passion project during my early years here in Madrid. Walking or doing Rizal walking tours here in Madrid was one of my de-stressing activities. During fines de semana or weekends, I would walk with friends or kababayans or young generation, second generation Filipinos here in Madrid, just to teach history, teach Rizal, get to reconnect with public history. So I thank the Philippine Embassy in Madrid and Las Tres Marias, the three girls, because it's like a dream come true, to be able to um, do one video before I leave Madrid, before I finish my PhD, and I'm just so happy that we're able to share this privilege, of experiencing Rizal's Madrid and share it to more Filipinos, especially in the Philippines and in the Filipinos in diaspora.
So, Ross, you were the one who wrote the script. And
yes. I wrote the script, but I based, of course, the script. Or I did historical research, of course, thanks to the many published works of historians, of past historians in the 1970s, in the 1980s, up to the 1990s. There have been a lot of researches about Rizal's Madrid. And of course, Rizal also, the primary sources, his letters, his correspondences. So this is a mix of secondary and primary sources.
Okay. So after you wrote the script, the Tres Marias, where do they come in? The Tres Marias what did they do? Or do they
Well, basically, basically they provided the view, no, I always say this, that the documentary is really or the video is from their eyes, because the way they, the selection of the images, the angles that they chose, also the editing, I just provided the text,
Okay.
but it's just, a small part of the video.
And you
It's
the
more
text and the
really their
talent.
work. It's their work. It's from their eyes.
You were the one doing the talking. You're the text and the talent. But
I,
were they the ones directing and
yes,
producing?
yes. It's really their work. They directed me. I'm a neophyte. I didn't know how to to
Yeah.
to actually look at the camera, and so it's this is really their work
Okay.
also, no?
So, Ross, you also mentioned that you were thanking the Philippine Embassy in Spain. So, I'll introduce them as well. There are two people who are also with us right now. I'll start with Consul Carlene Monastrell. Can you introduce yourself to us and your participation in this project?
Magandang hapon sa mga nanonood sa Pilipinas. Buenos dias dito naman sa mga nasa Europe. My name is Carlene Monastrial. I'm one of the consuls here in the Philippine Embassy. In fact, I just moved here in the latter part of March, so very new. And when I went here, it was at the tail end of the high that people were feeling at the embassy from the success of the video, no? So on my part, I'm also very curious to know about the backstory. The behind the scenes would be also very interesting to me. But just to give a brief overview about the video, this is a project that the Philippine Embassy partnered with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, under the leadership, of course, of our ambassador, Philip Luillier. And it's a there are so many things that happens behind the scenes of doing a documentary, it seems, no? And I guess we'll be finding that out when we talk to the Tres Marias and Professor Ross. um, it would not have been possible without their help. They were very instrumental in producing the video, and we're proud to say that it's been viewed over 20,000 times on Facebook, and we keep getting interest from universities, especially in the Philippines. So we're excited about that, because while we launched it here in Spain, we also want to reach out to Filipinos back home, because for me, who was able to view it as a finished product already, it was so nice to be able to visit the places even virtually that our forebears were able to walk. So I think one of the points that Professor Ross mentioned in the virtual tour was that she said in Plaza Santa Ana, and I'm paraphrasing because she says it in Filipino, no? She says in Plaza Santa Ana, a lot of our forebears, Jose Rizal, Marcelo del Pilar, and all of the Filipinos who were able to study in Madrid at that time would make it a meeting place. And she said, a lot of Filipinos work here, but are they even aware of the history and the memories that this plaza holds? So I hope that more Filipinos are able to access it. It's a different generation now. We are more connected through technology. And even though we cannot be here in person, I hope virtually that was carried over by the video that the embassy and NCCA produced.
Thank you very much. So I'm also going to call Conjen Adrian Cruz, if that's okay, to tell us about this video, this project, or this collaboration before we finally show the video.
Um, I won't want to spoil what
That's
the
true.
your guest will have to say, but I would also just like to give special mention to Consul Mical de Jos and wife Heidi de Jos, because they were really working hard on the sidelines, and they were the ones in contact with NCCA in preparing this video. And actually, I told Consul Mical, because he keeps on telling me, Conjan, what do you think? What we should do? Should we do this? Should we do that? And I told him, I'll leave it up to you and the creative team, because it is the rather than spoil, add some ideas in it, but I'm not the one who will make the video. It will be very difficult. So what you would see in this video is the product of the views and ideas of the young generation of people who are living here in Madrid. Yeah.
Thank you. JC, Angelina, and Liz, I'm about to play the video. What is the first thing we'll see in the first 5 minutes? What did you decide would be the opening views, and why did you choose that?
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because we spent like quite a lot of time thinking
Exactly.
about the introduction.
Yeah,
Basically, we want to show Madrid, how
Yeah.
beautiful Madrid is. We all fell in love in Madrid. I actually, personally, I was only planning to stay here for like 2 years, but now I'm still here. And that's what we want to show the audience, how beautiful Madrid is. And yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know, an overview.
Yeah, the whole of Madrid will be shown
We
in the
try
first,
to at least.
yeah,
We try to.
in the first few seconds of the video, and the introduction of Rizal. So it's a combination of the past and the present
Mhm.
in the first few
there's
minutes.
so many places in Madrid. What did you zone in on as the opening? You know, were there iconic things that you felt you wanted to? So what are those?
Well,
That-
yung sa mga yung mga highlights po na parang in-include namin sa opening is yung parang like the face of Madrid that um that people would recommend if you ever visit Madrid, you go to this place. So yung po yung parang tinarget namin na the very beauty of Madrid.
Okay,
her-
so
her spots basically. And also like some of like some hole in the wall, some streets, some beautiful streets, in like for example in Malasaña, or some like I remember we put like a video of a peluqueria, like a salon,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know, I think it's very Spanish.
okay, were those the things that Rizal would have seen too?
Sorry.
Probably.
Were those
Probably.
the things that Rizal could have probably seen? Did you try to see? Okay,
Yeah.
well, now this okay, everybody. I'm now gonna play a first 5 minutes of the video, and then maybe we'll cut it a bit and talk to you again after I've played a little bit. Okay, here we go. And everybody who has comments, stories to share. This is everyone's. This is not just their story to tell. This is all Filipinos, or even all people who love the Philippines and Rizal. Please feel free to share your stories and anecdotes as well, or suggestions, or comments, or ideas. We're open. Okay, here we go. I'm now going to share the video. Wait a minute. Sorry. Oops. Okay, here we go.
Ang dakilang bayaning Pilipino na si Jose Rizal ay isinilang sa Calamba, Laguna noong June 19, 1861. Nag-aral siya sa Ateneo Municipal de Manila at Universidad de Santo Tomas, kung saan kinilala siya bilang isang natatanging mag-aaral. Noon pa man, marubdob na ang pag-ibig sa bayan ni Rizal. Lalo pa itong tumindi ng lisanin niya ang Pilipinas upang ipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral sa Europa. Dalawampu't-isang taong gulang lamang ang batang si Jose Rizal noong unang dumating at nanirahan sa Espanya noong 1882. Sa dayuhang lupaing ito, naging mahalagang tinig siya sa kilusang nagsulong ng interes ng mga Pilipino. Ngayong araw, samahan niyo kami as we trace the footsteps of Jose Rizal in the city of Madrid. Lakarin natin ang mga kalye, hanapin ang mga teatro at mga restaurante, at puntahan ang mga gusali at mga eskwelahang naging kakabit ng buhay ni Rizal dito sa Madrid. Tara! First stop, ito ang Atocha Station, ang pangunahing estasyon ng tren dito sa Madrid. Ano kaya ang pakiramdam ng batang estudyanteng si Rizal noong una siyang dumating sa Madrid mula sa Barcelona noong September 1882? Dalawang beses tumira si Rizal dito sa Madrid. Una, nung nag-aral siya dito from 1882 to 1885, at pangalawa, from 1890 to 1891 nung bumalik siya dito para mag-lobby at para magsagawa ng mga gawaing reformista sa Madrid, ang kapital ng Espanya. Rizal became active in the Filipino community of students and reformists, then led by the Paterno and Luna brothers. Ayon sa mga historians na sina Pedro Ortiz Armengol at Antonio Molina, marami-rami rin ang mga Pilipinong kasabay na nag-aral ni Rizal dito sa Espanya. Sa isang sulat ni Rizal sa kanyang mga magulang, kwento niya na nakakilala siya ng ilang mga Pilipinong komersyante, marinero, abogado, artista at politiko. Meron ding mga kosinero, kasambahay, kotsero, at syempre, mga estudyante.
Okay, we will stop this for a second, and I would just like to ask a few questions, if it's okay, to our panelists.
Yes.
Wait, let me stop share. Can't stop share. Also, I'm stopping my sharing because there is a version of the video. When you watch this on YouTube, it's easy to find. You just type and walking tour of Rizal. What's a good thing to type?
Rizal walking tour.
Rizal walking
Madrid.
tour. Yeah, if you do this on your own, the video quality might probably be better because now on Zoom there's a bit of lag, and that has subtitles. So I
Yes.
stopped my sharing for a bit because I realized what I was sharing did not have subtitles. I want to talk to you for a bit, and when we resume, we will be sharing the one with subtitles. I know that there are people in our audience who don't speak Filipino, so that's my first question. Why did you choose to do this in Filipino? So obviously you had a target audience in mind, didn't you?
Yeah.
Whose choice was that? Was that Ross's?
I think
Yeah.
it was a decision. It was Miss Ross's decision to.
It was a yes, Dean Nikki. It was a conscious decision to actually choose. But later on you will see that there are also parts in English, but primarily Filipino was used in this video to, of course, to share this to a larger Filipino audience. We also had some parts in Spanish,
Who don't speak Filipino. So that's my first question.
but so we tried to use the three languages, Filipino, English, Espanol. So it was very important for us. We knew from the very beginning that we want to put three subtitles as well: Filipino, English, and Spanish subtitles. So as you've mentioned, Dr. Nikki,
Yeah.
if our audience will go to YouTube, so they can select the different subtitles, the three languages.
Okay. Aside from the language, I have a question. Who did the camera work? Did you
It's
have a cameraman accompanying you, or was it just you?
It's mostly
Mainly me po.
yeah, mostly Julina.
Yeah,
But
that
it
was
Yeah.
was a collaborative, like with all the clips, the detail shots. It was the three of
Yeah.
us helping together, helping each other. But during the shooting, it was her. She was a cameraman.
what did you use?
Oh, good question, Miss. Because we just use this simple digital camera. Well, it's a vlogging camera, but it's very handy. It's something that it's simple no-brainer camera. So everything that we shot was just like a movement, or we just tried to zoom in on some clips so that it'll be more like a DSLR shot.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, it would be just simple basic shots. So yun po yung parang naging trick namin.
Yeah,
How
and
about-
because we just bought the camera, diba, like a few months when we started the shoot.
Exactly.
Because actually, the three of us have been like
Planning,
thinking
yeah.
of like actually like doing like a vlog,
vlog.
here. We actually have one, but it's like it's I don't know, it's an informal vlog where we were just like talking about like Spanish, like comparing Filipino and Spanish words.
And that's the reason why we were picked on this
Yeah.
project po.
Yeah, by the embassy, because I actually volunteered with the embassy before, and Miss Karen, one of the
Karen.
staff from the Philippine embassy, she knew me and she messaged me, and I think because she saw like our video that we made during the quarantine, and she messaged us. She messaged me asking if I would be interested in helping with this like project that they have been like planning to do. And yeah, so
How did
basically
you do
that's
the maps? Because I saw that at the very start, there seemed to be like an aerial swoop in of the layout of the grid. Who did that? All
we
the
can give thanks to Miss
Miss
Heidi
Heidi.
de Dios, the wife of Consul Michael de Dios.
Oh,
She really helped us because we wanted to give that walking tour vibe that they can see where we would be going, which streets we would be taking, and we
it's
just like
Crescent Road.
randomly, yeah, we
What's at
randomly pick
Crescent
out.
Road? Okay.
That's Google Maps actually. That's Google Maps,
Yeah.
like the how do you call that? Like the
Transition.
satellite
Yeah.
view, I would say.
Yeah.
She recorded. I don't know. It was her, to be honest. So thank.
Thank you, Miss Heidi.
We already have a few questions before we go to. So, for example, Father Tony, do you want to be the one to talk or to ask? Um, uh, you can unmute yourself, or do you want me to read this for you? His comment is: we know two main cities of Madrid and Barcelona as resilient cities, but are there other parts of Spain that Rizal visited? And if so, what were these cities or towns or regions? Would you know? Oo nga, no? We tend to focus on Madrid and Barcelona. But surely he must have taken the train somewhere else. I mean,
Professor Rose, baka you have thoughts on this.
It would
What
be better.
are the other parts of Spain that Rizal visited?
Yeah, definitely, no, definitely. Like for instance, from Madrid to Barcelona, he
between,
passed,
yeah.
no, the route from Madrid to Barcelona, definitely the areas of Castilla y Leon, present day Castilla y Leon, no, from there and then to the northern part of Spain. The problem is that we don't have primary sources. Rizal didn't write about these travels, so and the correspondences as well. So we can't really look into his thoughts, no, and his impressions about these cities, because that's the beauty of doing Rizale. We have so many materials because he kept on writing, he kept on describing the different cities, places, people, cultures that he encountered. So that's one thing that that's a limitation, no. Um,
Yeah. So he would have written about it if he did, right? Like you would wonder, did he go to Salamanca? Did he go to Granada? And would he not have written something about it or drawn or sketched the great architecture if he did? So
yeah.
I don't know.
but
Father
he really
Tony,
provided a general impression of Spain in one of his memorias written in Heidelberg. So he wrote about Spain, and then a very big part of it was about his impressions of Madrid.
okay.
So in general, he did write about his views
Okay.
about Spain.
Another question is, did you get special permission from the local government of Madrid to do the documentary? Did you need special access to certain places? Did you just walk the pedestrian way that average reasonable Filipinos could do? What's the idea? Is the idea if you're an average person going to Madrid now and we follow the walk, we won't need special permission? I don't know because we haven't seen the rest of the video. Are any of those sites you captured on film off limits?
I would say the majority of the clips that we showed where we went is easily accessible. Although we did like get some permission from I forgot which places, but the
Yeah.
embassy organized those places. They asked for permission because we just wanted to show the audience like this is the inside, like this is how the building looks like, because like we can't, I mean, you wouldn't normally like be allowed to go inside. But I would say that majority of the video, it's out there in the streets.
Okay, but what is the narrative logic behind the starting point of the walking tour? Is the starting point a geographic decision? Is it a chronological decision? How did you make a choice? Is it because Atocha was his first entry point, and so the nearest to Atocha is how you did the tour? Well, what's the logic behind the chronology? I don't know. Yeah, the design of the tour.
Yeah.
Miss Ross.
Okay. Yeah, it was more of a chronological. The design was more of chronological. But of course, in reality, if one would do a Rizal Madrid walking tour, you would want to select those places that were already near, no? I mean, so you'll save energy, time and energy. But in this walking tour, because we had the uh, privilege, no, and the luxury of actually, editing different parts. So we designed it in a chronological manner. So from Rizal's first entry,
Yeah.
no, in 1880, in 1882. When he first studied here in Spain, so from the Facultad de Medicina to the Faculty of Medicine and the Faculty of Filosofía y Letras, and then his first residences, and then the first networks that he um, that he had. No, so that was the first, and then the latter part would be his second journey to Madrid. So that was more of chronological order, so that our viewers also
Okay.
follow Rizal's story in Madrid.
So we're showing that part now. Okay, so now we'll share it with subtitles this time. And the tech person will do it because you saw how I did it. Okay, so Alec from the NHCP, please feel free to share where we left off.
Ang kapital ng Espanya.
Rizal became active in the Filipino community of students and reformists, then led by the Paterno and Luna brothers. Ayon sa mga historians na sina Pedro Armengol and Golan Molina,
Sorry,
Alec, you can keep playing it, but
sa isang sulat ni Rizal.
Okay, so I asked him to mute it first because of the echo, but second, I want to talk to you while we're watching the video, even if we can't hear it. We have the subtitles to guide us. I found this very creative when you started talking about that there are cooks, that there are, different occupations. So whose decision was this to shoot this? This is wonderful.
This was our sorry, just like a feedback, but yeah, this was a conscious decision made by our team because we really wanted to show Filipinos living here in Madrid. We want to relate the script when Miss Ross was talking about how Rizal made connections with different Filipinos here. We want to show them like they're still here. People are still here. They're doing different types of things here in Madrid.
So it wasn't only about the political groups as well, but also some jobs that I think will not be covered by other books. I mean, yeah.
I don't know why we have feedback. No? Can you still hear the echo?
Yes,
Here, look at these aerial views. This is wonderful.
That's Miss Heidi. That's thanks to Google Maps actually. But we're glad that we were able to put it in the video because that's what we wanted for the people to see the streets, the how do you say the whole city.
Okay, so let's try again, Alec, if we can hear it better now. Joseph, sorry.
Na medisina o fine arts ang aralin. Sabi kasi ng kanyang kapatid, napakarami ng mga abogado sa Pilipinas.
They'll mute it. Let's let the image speak for themselves because we have the people behind the scenes and the actual talent in the room to talk about it. Did you go inside the colegio?
We did po. Although very limited lang po yung areas na na-cover namin.
Was this with permission? Did you ask permission to do this? Did you ask?
Yes po. We did. Yeah, we asked for permission. The one from IPNA po, we asked them on that day then. But for other shots like this po, we need to have a letter sent to the office. So it was the embassy's help, through the embassy's help.
Okay, I'm not so worried about not showing everybody the video because it's easily available on YouTube, and you probably will not suffer any of these technical problems when you do the YouTube. This is amazing. How did you do this effect of using the handwriting from the letters itself? You know, there are many brilliant things that you did in this video that makes me shocked to see that it's only a 20-plus-year-old people who did this thing. No, it's not your usual vlogger video. So uh, let me see. Can you tell us? So this was not filmed in chronology, right? So did you film by spot? So did you list places and then you went geographically, then you restitched it all together?
We tried to. We actually we planned to shoot the video in one day, which was very how would you call it? Ambitious. That's the original plan. So we had like this geographically we wanted to shoot the video, the locations. But yeah, we ended up extending the shooting days, which I think it was definitely okay with us because we really wanted to show Madrid and to have a good video, a good output.
But retracing the footsteps of Rizal, were there any reflections you had on Rizal's life while he was there? Um, what was this summer? When did you do this? Was this winter? What was the season when you did this?
It was 2 seasons, but actually we started in November and finished in February. So that was winter going to spring. So that's why, just like behind the scene, if you've seen like our outfits, it was from all covered up into like something lighter. So
which was actually
props to Miss Ross.
Props to Miss Ross because we started. We wanted, of course, for her to wear the same
outfit.
same outfit. So we told her, sorry, Miss Ross, even if it's cold, you'd have to
imagine 9 a.m.
Yeah, 9 a.m. which was
in a park. So there was breeze and it was cold. It was winter time, and Miss Ross was wearing
it was a sweater. She wasn't wearing a jacket or a.
People must have been looking at her like,
yeah,
what's wrong with this person?
And another thing,
Paolo, you're raising your hand. Yes, Paolo, you're raising your hand.
Yes, hello. Hello, just a simple question. I'm not aware of the details of Rizal in Madrid, of course. The question I have is very simple. Did you follow mostly a chronological approach on Rizal's stay in Madrid, or did you follow a spatial approach? Did you just take a tour following the several spaces, or did you choose to follow the chronological when about the stay of Rizal? Because it pose different issues and questions regarding how do you film. It could force you to go back and forward in the city just following the chronological order of Rizal's stay.
Yeah. Hi, Paolo. So I think I can answer this question. So it was actually both. The beauty also of documenting Rizal and the other Filipino ilustrados in Madrid is that they moved in practically one geographical space. So that's what we call in Madrid the Barrio de las Letras. The Barrio de las Letras, or the literary neighborhood of Madrid. So that's present day for those who are familiar with Madrid's geography. So that's the area from Atocha train station. You follow the very long Calle Atocha, and that's where you see the different very nice streets, the old streets of Barrio de las Letras, where the Facultad de Medicina was located, where Rizal lived, where the Filipino ilustrados lived as well, where Pedro Paterno, one of the more important host of the Filipino community lived. Also, that's where the former Manila Mayor Ortiga y Rey lived. And that's where the restaurants, where the bares, where the theaters, where the bookshops that Rizal and the other Filipinos moved, no? And so that's the beauty. That's where also the Ateneo de Madrid was and is located, the Congreso de los Diputados. So maybe if there's one or if there's one or two spaces that were really not in the Barrio de las Letras, it was the Facultad de Filosofía y Letras, which is in the area of northern part of Madrid, but it's not walkable from the Barrio de las Letras, but it's still close enough. So also the Real Academia de Bellas Artes, the fine arts school where Rizal took some courses, and of course Juan Luna and Felix Resurrección Hidalgo studied. It was also very close the other places. So it was both, no? I mean, I would say we use the chronological and the geographical space, because you will also see Rizal's movement also varied in his different stays in Madrid. So, for instance, in his early years of education from 1882 to 1884, 1883 to 84, he moved near the Facultad de Medicina, where he had so many, at that time, a lot of medicine classes. But because he simultaneously took his medicine and Filosofía y Letras classes, by 1880, latter part of 84 to 85, he moved to the northern part of the city, closer to the Facultad de Filosofía y Letras. So, so that's the explanation. So it was both, actually.
Okay. I have a question for both Ross and the Tres Marias. The socio-political economic context of that area that you're talking about, what's it like now? What's the reputation of that particular area? Has it retained that character? Is it still known? Yeah.
Barrio de las Letras, like where he mostly lived. I would say so. It's a vibrant. When you go there, you would see how vibrant the area still is. There's a lot of bars. There's a lot of librerias. There's a lot of young people.
Yeah. Can you go there for nightlife?
Nightlife, definitely. Yeah, it's in the center. So yeah, nightlife is very active there.
And yeah, it's still considered as a historical area.
Yeah.
So there are some historical markers in
Miguel
some
Cervantes
places,
used to
in some
live.
streets, cobblestones are still there. So mapapansin po talaga natin na it's retained up until now.
Tours actually happening there, like every day, probably.
Protests.
Yeah.
Protests and yeah.
Would you say that being there makes you think of Rizal more or understand him more in a certain way? Everybody who walk those streets, what will we get? What will we gain about Rizal if we're a fan and we go in that area?
It's interesting because Eunice.
Yeah, probably just imagining Rizal as like a normal person having, probably ordering a menu del dia, or just like thinking of what drinks to have, like a sangria, tinto de verano. So I think when I was there, I imagined Rizal more as like what a normal person he was when he was there. What his life.
Had the budget.
Yeah, definitely. It humanized Rizal, like this project for us. It humanized Rizal because I mean, growing up, we knew everything about him, his life, his I mean, the things that he did for the country. But then when we did the walking tour with Miss Ross, and we saw the places where he lived, and we heard how he struggled as well, like financially. It kind of like, it, like what I said earlier, it humanized him, because like we are students as well. We were like young people. Like I think he was also in his 20s when he lived here. So we can relate to those areas.
All right. I will now play the video. Unfortunately, we can't play the one with subtitles because the sound there's just too much reverb. So I'm going to continue playing the video, and here we go. Please bear with us for technical difficulties. Oh wait.
Sila ang naging kaagapay ni Rizal noong una siyang nanirahan dito noong 1882 hanggang 1885.
Nikki, we can't hear anything.
Produktong agrikultural. Dahil dito, nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ng mga pamilyang katutubo at mestizo na mapaaral ang kanilang mga anak hindi lamang sa Maynila, kundi pati na rin sa ibang bansa. Isang pamilyang Rizal sa mga halimbawa nito. Dahil sa pagtatanim nila ng asukal, nakapag-aral at nanatili si Rizal dito sa Espanya, pati na rin sa Europa. Ilang metro lamang mula sa Atocha Station, nandito tayo ngayon sa Calle Santa Isabel No. 51. Ito ang dating lokasyon ng Facultad de Medicina de San Carlos kung saan nag-aral si Rizal ng panggagamot. So ngayon, ito na ang tanggapan ng Colegio de Medicos de Madrid. Ito ang ating unang binisita ngayong araw dahil ang pangunahing dahilan kung bakit nagtungo si Rizal sa Espanya ay upang mag-aral ng medisina. Actually, law ang unang gustong aralin ni Rizal. Pero kinumbinsi siya. Pakarami ng mga abogado sa Pilipinas. Napakalaki ng papel na ginampanan ng kapatid na si Pasiano sa buhay ng batang estudyante. Dahil sa kanyang tulong pinansyal, nakapag-aral at na-explore ni Rizal ang Europa. Today, we can still see the halls, classrooms, and auditorium where Rizal attended his medicine classes. In his diary, Rizal mentioned that he took his theoretical classes here, but performed the practical sessions in the Hospital de la Princesa, which was located several kilometers away from the Facultad de Medicina. For instance, on February 17, 1884, he wrote in his diary that he performed 2 operations on arterial ligatures. In his Apuntes de Clinica, Rizal kept records of the patients, their illnesses, and the care and treatment plan for them. Mababasa natin dito ang kanyang mga tala hinggil sa mga pasyenteng Espanyol na may diabetes, rayuma, tuberculosis, at iba pang mga karamdaman. Halimbawa, naitala niya ang atensyong medikal na kanilang binigay sa isang 27 taong gulang na lalaking may syphilis na nadestino sa Cuba at sa isang nagngangalang Roque Lopez, 61 taong gulang na trabahador sa pabrika ng tabako na nagkasakit ng kanser sa bituka. Rizal's professors in the Facultad de Medicina were some of the known Spanish physicians like Manuel Mariani, Gonzales Encinas, and Jose Letamendi. Tulad ni Rizal, produkto ng eskwelahang ito, ang Nobel Prize awardee na si Santiago Ramon y Cajal. Hanggang 7 minuto mula sa Facultad de Medicina de San Carlos, narito tayo ngayon sa Calle Amor de Dios, ang kalye kung saan unang tumira ang batang estudyante si Rizal sa Madrid. Dito, sa bahay na ito sa Calle Amor de Dios number 13 to 15, tumira si Rizal kasama ang kaibigang si Vicente Gonzales na dati na niyang kikilala sa Ateneo de Manila. Alam niyo bang, nagpalipat-lipat si Rizal ng bahay dito sa Madrid? His diaries and letters showed that he changed his address at least 8 times while in Madrid. Pero halos magkalapit lang din naman ang mga kaling nilipatan ng batang estudyante. Mula Calle Amor de Dios hanggang Calle Visitación na ngayon ay Calle Fernandez de Gonzales, Calle de Baño na ngayon ay Calle Ventura de la Vega, Calle Príncipe, Calle San Miguel na ngayon ay kilalang Gran Via, isa sa pangunahing kalye sa sentro ng Madrid, Calle Barquillo, Calle Pizarro, at Calle Cedaceros. Makikita sa mga pagpipagsulatan ni Rizal na tumira sila maging sa mga bahay na hindi maganda ang kalagayan. Halimbawa, nakipagkwentuhan siya sa kanyang kaibigan sa Barcelona tungkol sa kanilang mga tinutuluyang puno ng karapata at surot. Dito, sa bahay na ito, naranasan ni Rizal ang mga unang pagsubok habang nasa ibayong bayan. Ilang buwan pa lamang na nandirito sa Espanya, ay lumiham na si Rizal sa kanyang kuya Pasiano dahil hindi sapat ang kanyang nakukuhang pera mula sa pamilya. Pinangakuan naman siya ng kanyang kuya na makakapagpadala ito ng mas malaking halaga kapag naibenta na ang kanilang produktong asukal. Katulad ng marami sa atin, madalas sumulat si Rizal sa kanyang pamilya at ganoon din naman sila sa kanya. Nakakabahalang balita agad ang natanggap ni Rizal, ilang buwan pa lamang siyang nasa Espanya dahil sa pagkamatay ng ilang kakilala at kaibigan dulot ng epidemya ng kolera na kumakalat sa Maynila, Bulacan hanggang Laguna. Sinabi rin ng kanyang kapatid na si Olympia na umuwi agad si Rizal sapagkat matatanda na ang kanilang mga magulang. Dagdag pa ng kapatid na si Maria, huwag magtampo kung hindi na nakakasulat ang kanilang mga magulang sapagkat nawawala na ang paningin ng mga ito. Mula noon, pangkaraniwan din ang pagpapadala ng mga bagay at pagkain mula Pilipinas patungo sa Espanya. Ilang beses din siyang pinadalhan ng mga babaeng kapatid ng mga bagay-bagay mula sa Pilipinas. Mula sa singsing na may brilyante upang may maipandagdag siya sa kanyang gastusin hanggang sa mga tsinelas, panyo, halaya at minatamis.
Okay, we pause with matamis. And halaya.
Matamis.
My real reason is we're still not giving up on playing the one with subtitles because there are people in the audience here in Zoom who don't speak Filipino, and we really want them to hear the message because that's a wonderful video that you made. So let me stop here by asking just a quick question. Do you think it would be possible for Filipinos to live in the very same buildings that Rizal lived in? Is that a possibility? Can we make a wish list of buildings to target renting a flat from just to have the bragging about I lived exactly where Rizal lived himself? Are those residential places?
Might be a little bit difficult. I think most of the buildings where he lived, they're occupied by older like people, that area. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Ross. And also the area is, I would say, quite expensive.
Expensive area.
Yeah, it's very expensive because it's right like smack in the center of Sol, the center of Madrid. So yeah, it's possible if you have.
Of course, yeah. Are we talking about Filipinos living here in Madrid?
No, because imagine if we had our hands on one of those places he actually made.
The actual flat.
Yeah, and we can always say this is where Rizal lived. This is for every
private. I don't know how to say, no?
Privately owned.
Yeah.
Flat.
Rented pero mahirap po siya matimingan kasi
in very important streets like Gran Via. Gran Via is now
commercialized.
In Rizal's time, those were the affordable areas that would have been.
Yes, for the students, I mean, affordable in that sense, but of course Rizal also had one of the recurring problems that he had at that time was that he would always say, I'm already short of allowance, please send me money so I can. And also one of we showed you in the map, there were really we identified in the Madrid map the different addresses, the different locations where Rizal lived. One of the reasons is that financial reasons why Rizal moved a lot of times, because he would change his address depending on his financial status at that time. So medyo magka-couch surf siya sa ibang friends niya,
Is that a long walk? Because in the map you showed that there were areas very near, except for that one house that was a little bit
very near. Like 100 meters, 200 meters distance. So very, very, very near.
Madrid itself is a very walkable city.
Yeah.
So to the Tres Marias, but also to Ross, do you see any parallelism with Rizal's life and yours as students of Madrid now?
Denise, you want to start?
The struggle of homesickness din po. Kasi I struggle with that. That's why I'm here despite yung hassle na umuwi.
Hassle.
Yeah, ang sobrang hassle po. Pero I think similarly with Rizal, we struggle with homesickness. Rizal actually asked for like food from the Philippines, and that's sometimes like what we also experience. And we want something Filipino, so we go to Filipino restaurants, or sometimes we cook at home. And another thing is about looking for apartments, because that's one of like the things. So we also have to deal with, it's not just like moving to Madrid and automatically we have a place to live in. It's a really long process. And guys, you want
It might be like being a young person living in a different city, because this is, I think, for the three of us, this is our first time living abroad, like connecting with people and um, just getting to know, I don't know, people, locals here. Maybe that, I don't know if that was also a struggle for him. It's not necessarily a struggle for us, because like we get connected through like Facebook groups now. It's easy, like online, but like some more similarities would be.
But more than just living in Madrid, how about studying in Madrid? There might be people here who are, were you scholars?
Mhm.
At the start of the portion of the video, you were talking about how there were many more students studying in Madrid. What's the school scenario like of Filipino students in Madrid? Are we
Well,
excelling? Is there a difference? Is the language a problem? Are you doing well? Like,
I think Miss Ross can answer that, because the three of us didn't actually study here. We work, we teach.
oh,
Um,
yeah, right.
yeah, Spanish students. So
Oh,
yeah, Miss
sorry.
Ross was a,
Oh,
was a student here, so the student life could be.
Okay, so maybe
I don't
there
want
are so there are so few of us who are actually well, number one, the difficult language difficulty is the number one reason why we are so few. Maybe I can only speak, yeah, my experience was that almost all of my classes were in Spanish. So we had readings in English, in French. I didn't even know French, so I had to double time, and some other languages. But Spanish is really, at least in my university, where I in La Universidad, in Universidad Complutense de Madrid, where Rizal actually studied also. So so Spanish really was the medium of is the medium of instruction. Um, but I guess we can talk about the second generation Filipinos here. I think one of the things that we can also discuss is that how second generation Filipinos nowadays are really trying to get a university degree, for instance, or a higher degree. So, I mean, this is also for many Filipinos now in the Philippines. Siguro magandang i-share ito na marami sa mga kababayan nating Pilipino dito sa Madrid ay nasa sector ng domestic service o di kaya sa hospital industry, at maganda dahil sa ngayon sa ikalawang henerasyon nagkakaroon sila ng pagkakataon na mapaaral nila yung kanilang mga anak din. So maganda dahil nagkakaroon tayo ng bagong mukha din ng iba't ng komunidad ng mga Pilipino dito.
Is there any Filipino who studied medicine like Rizal? Is there any Filipino who studied medicine like Rizal?
Yes,
we have, meron.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we have also.
Right, so we now go back to the video, hopefully with subtitles.
Okay.
And if there's no subtitles yet, bear with us. Just remember, it's always on YouTube. Here we go.
Alam niyo bang, nagpalipat-lipat si Rizal ng bahay dito sa Madrid? His diaries and letters showed that he changed his address at least 8 times while in Madrid. Pero halos magkakalapit lang din naman ang mga kaling nilipatan ng batang estudyante. Mula Calle Amor de Dios hanggang Calle Visitación na ngayon ay Calle Fernandez y González, Calle de Baño na ngayon ay Calle Ventura de la Vega, Calle Príncipe, Calle San Miguel na ngayon ay kilalang Gran Via, isa sa pangunahing kalye sa sentro ng Madrid, Calle Barquillo, Calle Pizarro, at Calle Cedaceros. Makikita sa mga pagkipagsulatan ni Rizal na tumira sila maging sa mga bahay na hindi maganda ang kalagayan. Halimbawa, nakipagkwentuhan siya sa kanyang kaibigan sa Barcelona tungkol sa kanilang mga tinutuluyang puno ng garapata at surot. Dito, sa bahay na ito, naranasan ni Rizal ang mga unang pagsubok habang nasa ibayong bayan. Ilang buwan pa lamang na nandirito sa Espanya ay lumiham na si Rizal sa kanyang kuya Pasiano dahil hindi sapat ang kanyang nakukuhang pera mula sa pamilya. Pinangakuan naman siya ng kanyang kuya na makakapagpadala ito ng mas malaking halaga kapag naibenta na ang kanilang produktong asukal. Katulad ng marami sa atin, madalas sumulat si Rizal sa kanyang pamilya at ganoon din naman sila sa kanya. Nakakabahalang balita agad ang natanggap ni Rizal, ilang buwan pa lamang siyang nasa Espanya dahil sa pagkamatay ng ilang kakilala at kaibigan dulot ng epidemya ng kolera na kumakalat sa Maynila, Bulacan hanggang Laguna. Sinabi rin ng kanyang kapatid na si Olympia na umuwi agad si Rizal sapagkat matatandaan na ang kanilang mga magulang. Dagdag pa ng kapatid na si Maria, huwag magtampo kung hindi na nakakasulat ang kanilang mga magulang sapagkat nawawala na ang paningin ng mga ito. Mula noon, pangkaraniwan din ang pagpapadala ng mga bagay at pagkain mula Pilipinas patungo sa Espanya. Ilang beses din siyang pinadalhan ng mga babaeng kapatid ng mga bagay-bagay mula sa Pilipinas. Mula sa singsing na may brilyante upang may maipandagdag siya sa kanyang gastusin hanggang sa mga tsinelas, panyo, halaya at minatamis. Ang fourth stop sa ating Results Madrid Walking Tour, ang Calle San Bernardo No. 49. Nandito tayo ngayon sa dating location ng Facultad de Filosofía y Letras of the Universidad Central, present-day Universidad Complutense de Madrid, where Rizal obtained his Licenciatura in Filosofía y Letras in 1885. Sa ngayon, wala nang mga klase sa gusaling ito pero ginagamit siyang opisina ng iba't ibang Spanish government institutions. Para makapaglaan ng mas maraming oras si Rizal, lumipat siya ng bahay malapit sa Universidad Central sa Calle Pizarro No. 13. Tara, pasok tayo! In the Universidad Central, Rizal took courses in history, Spanish and Greek literature, Latin, Hebrew, Arabic, among others. Ayon sa Spanish biographer ni Rizal na si Wenceslao Retana, di umano, mas mahusay si Rizal sa filosofiya at literatura kaysa sa medisina. Patunay raw dito ang kanyang mga grado sa dalawang pinasukang eskwelahan. Mga gradong notable lamang ang nakamit ni Rizal sa Fakultad de Medicina, samantalang pawang matrikula de honor at sobresaliente ang nakamit niya sa Fakultad de Filosofía y Letras. In his diary, Rizal mentioned the different demonstrations and protests organized by the students of the university. During that time, progressive ideas swept the halls of the Universidad Central. Isa sa mga progresibong profesor dito na naging profesor ni Rizal si Miguel Moraita. Isang history professor, intelektual, mason, isa sa mga tagapagtatag ng Sirkulo Hispano-Filipino at kilalang taga-suporta ng mga Pilipino sa kilusang propaganda. Ano nga ba ang kilusang propaganda? Tumutukoy ang kilusang propaganda sa lahat ng mga kilusan o grupo ng mga Pilipinong katutubo, mga mestizo, insularo kriolyo, o maging ng mga Espanyol na ang layunay magtaguyod ng mga reforma para sa Pilipinas. Noon pa man, meron ng ilang mga samahan na nabuo dito sa Espanya na ang layunin mapabuti ang kalagayan ng Pilipinas. Isa na rito, ang Sirkulo Hispano-Filipino. Ilan sa mga kilalang miyembro nito, ang magkakapatid na paterno. Karamihan din sa mga miyembro ay mga abogado, politiko, manunulat at negosyanteng may edad na at matagal nang naninirahan sa Espanya. Ngunit unti-unti, tumami ang mga kasaping kabataang estudyante sa samahang ito. Nandirito tayo ngayon sa ating fifth stop, ang Calle Ventura de la Vega na dati Calle de Baño. Makikita sa kaling ito ang dating tirahan ni Don Pablo Ortiga y Rey, dating mayor ng Maynila at vice president ng Consejo de Filipinas. Naging kilala din siya bilang isa sa mga host ng mga estudyanteng Pilipino dito sa Madrid. Dahil sa kanyang mahigpit na ugnayan sa mga estudyante, nagsilbing headquarters ang kanyang bahay ng Sirkulo Hispano-Filipino. Ang mismong bahay na ito, ang isa sa mga naging tambayan ni Rizal para makipagkwentuhan sa mga kaibigan at mapag-usapan ang lagay ng bayan. Isa sa mga dahilan ng madalas na pagbisita ni Rizal, ang dalagang anak ni Ortiga y Rey na si Consuelo. Pero may karibal sa atensyon ng dalaga si Rizal, ang kaibigan din niyang si Eduardo Delete. Pagpasok ng taong 1883, mas mapapadalas ang partisipasyon ni Rizal sa mga pagtitipong intelektual na ito ng mga estudyante sa Madrid katulad ng Sirkulo Hispano-Filipino. Nagsagawa sila ng mga belada o mga pagtitipon sa gabi upang basahin ang kanilang mga obra o di naman kaya ay pag-usapan ng mga usaping pampolitika at panlipunan sa Pilipinas. Sa isang pagtitipon, hinikayat ni Miguel Moraita si Rizal na basahin ang kanyang mga akda. Sa mga pagkikitang ito rin, minungkahi ni Rizal na magsulat ang iba't ibang mga Pilipinong estudyante tungkol sa iba't ibang tema at usapin ng bayan. Dito ipapanganak ang mga unang ideya ng manunulat na si Rizal sa kanyang unang nobelang nagmulat sa kalagayan ng bansa, ang Noli Me Tangere. Liban sa mga pagtitipon sa bahay, karaniwan ding pumupunta si Rizal sa mga restaurante, taberna o cafe na karaniwang tagpuan ng mga intelektual, mga manunulat at mga estudyante. Isa sa mga favorite spots ni Rizal, dito, sa restaurante Viva Madrid. Dahil sa halaga ng lugar na ito, naglagay sila ng historical marker sa tabi ng restauranteng ito. Sa harap ng kopa ng bino o ng tasa ng kafe, pinagdebatihan nila ang maraming isyong pampolitika at panlipunan. Sa mga kapihan katulad ng lugar na ito, nahasa ang maraming mapagbabagong ideya. Ang Restaurante Viva Madrid at ang mga tirahan ni Rizal at mga kapwa Pilipinong estudyante ay nasa distritong tinatawag na Barrio de las Letras o Literary Neighborhood sa wikang Ingles. The district was the center of literary and artistic pursuits during Spain's Siglo de Oro in the 16th to the 17th centuries. Halimbawa, dito nanirahan at tumira ang mga kilalang manunulat na Espanyol tulad ni Miguel Cervantes, may akda ng nobelang The Ingenious Gentleman, Don Quixote de la Mancha. Sa panahon ni Rizal sa Madrid, nanatiling sentro ng gawaing intelektual ang distritong ito na pinalilibutan ng maraming tindahan ng libro, mga kapihan at teatro. Indeed, this highly intellectual and creative environment influenced the development of Rizal's literary works and the evolution of his political and social thought. Nandito tayo ngayon sa ating 7th stop, ang Plaza Santa Ana, isa sa mga kilalang meeting place dito sa Barrio de las Letras. Noon, napapalibutan ito ng mga maraming teatro kung saan nakahiligan ni Rizal na manood ng iba't ibang mga palabas tulad ng obra ni Shakespeare. Sa ngayon, maraming restaurants at establishments ang nakapaligid dito kung saan maraming mga Pilipino ang nagtatrabaho. Alam kaya nila na sa mga kaling ito at sa mismong plazang ito, naglakad din si Rizal noong unang panahon? Kaya lamang, mayroong puna si Rizal sa mga kapwa mag-aaral sa Madrid. Anya, marami sa kanila ay walang interes sa mga usaping pampolitika at kung paano matutulungan ang bayan. Sa halip na gamiting pagkakataon ng mga pagtitipon para sa mga gawaing propaganda, mas nais pa ng mga kabataang estudyante ang aliw at sugal. Rizal believed that Filipino students should make productive use of their time while in foreign lands. Masasabing si Rizal ang isa sa magandang halimbawa ng estudyanteng talagang sinulit ang panahon at pagkakataon habang nasa ibayong dagat. Habang nag-aaral ng medisina at filosofiya at letras, madalas na nagtungo si Rizal dito sa Ateneo de Madrid sa Calle del Prado No. 21. Dito sa Ateneo, madalas na nakinig si Rizal ng iba't ibang diskursong intelektual at nag-aral ng iba't ibang mga lengguwahe tulad ng English, German, French at iba pa. Mga pangunahing akademiko at politiko ang mga kasapi ng Ateneo de Madrid. Ang mga taong ito na kanyang nakilala at nakasalamuha ang kanyang mga naging tulay upang mapalawak ang kanyang intelektual na sirkulo dito sa Europa. Habang nasa Madrid, hindi may pagkakailang sinubukan ni Rizal na magkaroon ng holistikong edukasyon. Liban sa Ateneo, kumuha rin siya ng mga kurso sa pagpipinta at eskultura dito sa Real Academia de Bellas Artes sa San Fernando sa Calle Alcalá No. 13. Noon, ito ang top art school dito sa Madrid kung saan nagpakadalubhasa ang ilan sa mga Pilipinong pintor tulad ni Juan Luna at Felix Resurrección Hidalgo. Noong 1884, ginanap sa Madrid ang Exposición Nacional de Bellas Artes at nanalo sa patimpalak na ito ang dalawang Pilipinong artista. Nakamit ni Juan Luna ang premyong ginto para sa kanyang oil painting na Spoliarium, samantalang premyong pilak naman ang nakamit ni Felix Resurrección Hidalgo para sa kanyang obrang Las Vírgenes Cristianas Expuestas al Populacho. Malaking tagumpay ang karangalang nakuha ni Luna at Resurrección Hidalgo para sa Filipino community dito sa Madrid noon. Upang ipagdiwang ang karangalang ito, nag-organisa si Pedro Paterno ng isang pagdiriwang dito sa Hotel Ingles noong June 25, 1884. Sa hotel na ito, dito sa Calle Lobo na ngayon ay kilalang Calle Echegaray, nagsama-sama ang mga Pilipino at ilang mga politikong progresistang Espanyol tulad ni Sigismundo Moret, Miguel Moraita at Rafael Maria de Labra. Nagbigay ng talumpati ang mga nagsipagdalo tulad ni Rizal at Graciano Lopez Haina. Naging kontrobersyal ang brindis or toast ni Rizal dahil sa politikal na nilalaman nito. Iginiit niyang ang kadalubhasaan at likas na talino ay walang kinikilalang lahi, pinagmulang lipi at kulay ng balat. Sa makatwid, katulad ng mga Espanyol, ang mga Pilipino ay may kakanyahan at dunong rin na may pagmamalaki. Ang kontrobersyal na political speech ni Rizal sa bangkete para kina Luna at Resurrección Hidalgo ay kumalat sa ilang pahayagan sa Espanya at Pilipinas. Sa sulat ni Pasiano, ipinaalam nitong nakarating sa Pilipinas ang talumpati at nagbigay babala na huwag na munang uuwi ang kapatid. Pagkatapos makuha ang 2 degree sa medisina at filosofiya at letras noong 1885, nagtungo si Rizal sa France, Germany at iba't ibang bahagi ng Europa. Gayunpaman, hindi nahinto ang kanyang pakikipag-ugnayan sa Madrid at Espanya. Dalawang taon pagkatapos umalis ni Rizal sa Madrid noong 1885, mayroong ginanap na isang eksposisyon dito sa Madrid to boost the economic and commercial interests between Spain and the Philippines. Tinawag itong 1887 Exposición de Filipinas. Dito, sa loob ng Parque del Buen Retiro, ginanap ang eksposisyong ito sa Palacio de Cristal, a 19th century modern structure made of glass and steel. Itinampok sa eksposisyong ito ang iba't ibang impormasyon tungkol sa Pilipinas, mula sa iba't ibang grupong etniko, mga industriya, agrikultura at komersyo, hanggang sa flora at fauna nito. Dinala sa Espanya ang iba't ibang specimen ng nyog, kawayan, iba't ibang uri ng kahoy, mga ibon at hayop, mga perlas at yamang mineral, mga kasuotan, likhang sining at mga katutubong kagamitan. Nakuna ng litrato, maging ang mga dinalang kalabaw sa Madrid na nagpapahinga sa ginawang man-made pond. Ngunit, ang naging kontrobersyal na bahagi ng eksposisyon ay ang pagtampok sa mga katutubo tulad ng mga igurot at tinggian at ang pagpapakita ng kanilang di umano'y kakaibang itsura at naiibang paraan ng pananamit at pamumuhay. Binatikos ng mga Pilipinong propagandista at ng ilang mga pahayagang liberal sa Espanya ang paglalarawan at ang kalagayan ito ng mga katutubong Pilipino. Wala si Rizal sa Madrid noon pero tinuligsan niya ang eksposisyong ito. Noong June 6, 1887, sumulat siya sa wikang Aleman sa kanyang kaibigang Austrian na si Ferdinand Blumentritt. Dito, binanggit niya ang kawalan ng dignidad sa paggamit ng mga Pilipinong katutubo bilang exhibit kasamang mga hayop at mga halaman. Sinabi rin niya na meron ng isang babaeng katutubo ang namatay dahil sa sakit na pneumonia. Sa kasalukuyan, ang ilang mga ethnographic materials at likhang sining na ginamit sa 1887 Exposición de Filipinas ay nakalagak sa Museo de Antropología sa Calle de Alfonso XII, na malapit lamang sa Retiro Park.
Okay, maybe we'll pause here for a bit on the controversial 1887 exposition. And
I saw that coming.
yeah, but just the other day we had a panel where Javier Huescas was talking at a very basic level about the Philippines, and it's the kind of talk that he gives in Spain because there's very little knowledge about the Philippines over there. And I was shocked at how basic the knowledge is. And Javier
Exactly.
saying you're doing important work, Javier Huescas, because we need to we need to let people in Spain know that the Philippines exists and about who we are, and then you see something like this, and to give a view of us in that way is another problem also altogether. So I'm going to ask you guys, but I'm also going to ask Conjen, Adrian, and Consul Carlin to weigh in on this. This can be seen now, right? These artifacts in Plaza de Cristal, is it? Palacio Cristal.
It's in Museo de Antropología.
Okay, so you filmed it there. So
Yes.
these are all here. Okay, can you tell us something about, how do people view the Philippines in Spain, if they have a view at all?
Yeah,
Right.
that's an interesting question that you. That's an interesting question because we teach Spanish students, and as part of being like language and cultural ambassadors, most of the schools would ask us to do a presentation about the Philippines, and of course we're happy to share that. We share them. We shared our culture. We shared our festivals, like the similarities, the influence, the Spanish influence on their influence basically on the Filipino culture. But yeah, it definitely was surprising how little they knew about the Philippines. They thought, like, when I showed them pictures of Makati, of BGC, they were like, what?
You don't live in tree houses?
Yeah, they don't know. Because all that they can think of is jungle. Literally, the students told me that we thought that the Philippines, they didn't even know where the Philippines was. And what was this? They were surprised, like, why are there buildings? We thought there would be just like full of like jungle and all these like forests. I'm like, yeah, we actually exist. We have cities. We have like our economy.
Yeah, they get to know it because of us, and I'm happy. Last month, it's very fresh because I was given an opportunity to share the Philippine-Spain relations to my third-year high school students. So I asked for some materials from Miss Ross. Thank you so much for those, and it was really helpful because they, like, honestly, just what you said, they didn't know anything about the Philippines. or maybe limited, very limited information. And even the monument in Islas Filipinas, because there's this street named after us, and the monument
Filipinas.
of Avenida Islas Filipinas,
Islas Filipinas.
and Jose Rizal's monument is there. And most of my students, because I am teaching in the center of Madrid, they basically live in that neighborhood. And so when I presented that in that session, they were really surprised that it's more than that. It's more than the monument. There's story, of course.
He's our national
monument,
hero. He's a national hero. Of the Philippines
they got to know the background about it, and I was really surprised of the reception of the students, because they wanted more from our view, because what they only know is mostly, well, the Latin American history, that part.
Yeah, to add to that, to what Jolina said, like similar to students as well. When I asked, because we normally, like when I presented myself, because I was the first Filipino auxiliar in my school, and they really have no idea about the Philippines. So when I did a presentation about the promotional video from the DOT, so I asked them, okay, so let me take a pause here. Do you know why Philippines was named Philippines? And they were like, no idea. Like, guys, it was named after your king. So they were really surprised that how related we are to Spain, and why there are words that are similar to Spanish but are Filipino. So it was actually like, this program is really a great platform for Spanish students, especially, to get to know more about the and that's only when my history teachers in my school tried to include a bit of Philippine history, not a lot, but still a little bit of Philippine history, so that the students know something about the Philippines and their relationship with Spain.
Okay, I don't know if Paulo's raising his hand, but Paulo, are you? Or was this from earlier? And I'll also call Conjen Adrian and Consul Carlin, if that's okay, to tell us a little bit more about this exhibit. Is this something we can access now? I'll call you first, Conjen Adrian.
Right. Yes, Dr. Nikki?
Yeah.
Actually,
the exhibit in the Palacio del Cristal, is that still on? Is that something we can see our artifacts
in Palacio de Cristal, you don't have that anymore.
Oh, okay,
but
sorry.
it's very interesting to note that when you do some bit of research online and you type Palacio de Cristal or the Crystal Palace in Retiro Park, there is a brief explanation that it was built in 1887 during the Philippine exhibition, and that the building was conceived to serve as a greenhouse for plants of the Philippine exhibition. And it was organized at the time when the Philippines were, or the Philippine Islands, as it was known then, was still a Spanish colony. So they only leave it at that. But there are also Spanish historians, Spanish experts on the Philippines called Filipinistas. We would like to label them as Filipinistas. They would come to me and they would also tell me they know the history of why Palacio de Cristal was established, and they talk to us in a very apologetic way, because they know it was a very controversial decision, not because they weren't just showing plants. They were actually bringing our Filipinos there, complete with how they looked like, their attire, and also other artifacts. Um, and then the JC and Jelena were mentioning that the artifacts that were shown in 1887, they were transferred, or most of them were transferred at Museo Nacional de Antropología, or the Anthropological Museum, which is just a stone throw away from there, or it's just walking distance from Atocha Station. And maybe even the Filipinos here in Spain don't know about it, but going to that anthropological museum is free. And the artifacts, you will see them at the first floor of the anthropological museum. Anyone can go there, anyone can see it. Yeah.
Consul Carlin? Or sorry, Paulo Pinto is raising his hand. Should we call him first? Paulo, are you raising your hand?
Well, yeah, yes, it was just to add one or two comments on what Eunice and JC were saying about well, I'm not a Spanish, I'm a Portuguese, and so I'm not speaking on behalf of the Spanish, of course, but there are a few elements that could take people like you Filipinos to understand why the Spanish don't know anything, or some of your own generation don't know, because there was some sort of a collective trauma in Spain at the end of the 19th century, because Spain suddenly, in a single stroke, they lost their Asian empire, the Philippines and Cuba. And there are a few works and a few articles by historians explain why Spain was some sort of a colonial trauma, and the Spanish collective memory just erased the memories of the Philippines like something that were lost, and so they forgot it. Well, but of course, it's a few generations have passed meanwhile, and so something has been lost in sort of memories. Well, in Portugal, we have a romantic, heroic memory of our past in Asia. Because it's so remote, we consider ourselves as the discoverers like Magellan and others. And so we have a romantic image. But it's interesting because the Spanish, this is the idea I have from Portugal, of course. I think the Spanish simply don't have a memory at all, not even a bad one or a romantic one like we do, but there is some sort of a blank fog in recording regarding the Philippines. And also, and this was something that was mentioned in the session by Javier Ruescas, there's also, I think, it's my opinion, the question of the language. Because you don't speak Spanish anymore in the Philippines. There is the American presence, and so how the Americans translated all historical Spanish documents into English. And so you have surnames and names, Spanish ones, but you don't speak Spanish. And I think for the Spanish young people, well, you are Asians, you have Spanish names, but you are not Spanish, you are not Argentinos, you are not Mexican, and so on. So it's something remote. That's my idea. Just a final remark about the human zoos. Just saying that it was unfortunately common practice in all colonial Europe.
Yes.
And I think that the last ones were even in the 1950s, after the Second World War in Belgium, regarding Africa and Zaire and Congo. And so it was something, and so the Philippines were not exactly an exception. It was the colonial milieu of the time, just exhibiting our own natives and how our colonial empire was powerful. Unfortunately. Thank you.
Just like what Eunice mentioned earlier, that's why we were glad that we were able to share the culture of the Philippines to young like Spanish students, because without the program they wouldn't even know that we were a former colony, that they have a huge influence over our culture. So yeah, we were glad and we're proud that we were able to do that.
Okay, before we continue to the next section of the video, there are two questions about this particular section's content that are very related to that content. So here we saw Juan Luna, Felix Hidalgo, the Paterno brothers, Graciano Lopez de Jaena. These are the names of people that are included in the tour beyond Rizal. Was there any plan of doing, let's say, an illustrated tour, or that's one question, of featuring, something else in the future beyond Rizal that features a wider casting a wider net of Filipino experiences in Spain? I know there are Rizal fanatics in the Zoom room. Sorry to ask this question, but this came from someone in the Zoom room. Can there also be a walking tour of Spain that shows continuities between Philippines and Spain beyond Rizal? And if it's beyond Rizal, what would that look like? What places would be included? Were there Filipino artists in the museums? Sometimes, Rizal looms so large that casts so many everybody else in a shadow, which is not to question your project, but maybe to suggest what's next, like what other projects there can be. I don't know, maybe you or Conjan Adrian could comment on this. Yeah.
It has been asked quite a
I
lot of
could,
times.
I could
I think
offer my comment
Constance
on that, please. Yes, Dr. Nikki. Um, I am very happy that you used the poster of there was a group photo. It's a group image of the Ilustrados in Madrid, and you singled out Rizal, right?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because actually after this walking tour of Rizal, the challenge that we are now confronted with is we should highlight also other heroes, other personalities who have made their mark in Philippine history. In fact, actually, we did recently a webinar on Gregoria de Jesus because a descendant of Gregoria de Jesus is now staying in Malaga, who came to the embassy to apply for a passport. And then when we found out that descendant siya ni Gregoria de Jesus, we talked to him. Would you like to help us make a webinar? Join us with the webinar. And he said yes. And he was the one who helped us get all the historical materials and some personal anecdotes from the family about her. I think that's the challenge. We would really have to be very responsible to stick to what is available historical facts. That's the challenge that confronts us because when you talk about when it is about Rizal, there's so many information already, and that's why it was a less difficult challenge to come up with this walking tour. We hope we can do something in the future. We would be focusing now on Juan Luna, and we also have, as I said, some Filipinistas who will be helping us to do an Ilustrado tour. But yes, but we will just surprise you again.
Yeah.
If you're going to have something like this next year, perhaps you would see this creative team of people discussing with you the walking tour of another hero of the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay, we're excited and looking forward to that. We haven't even finished the current video. Let's go back
Yeah.
to the final stretch. We just have a little bit more, and then the final, discussion. Thank you, Alex, and share.
Kahit wala sa Madrid, hindi nahinto si Rizal sa pagkilahok sa mga gawaing reformista tulad ng La Solidaridad, isang asosasyon ng mga Pilipinong propagandista. Tumutukoy din ito sa pahayagang kanilang nilimbag 2 beses isang buwan. Sa simula, sa Barcelona ang unang tanggapan ng La Solidaridad, pero nilipat nila ito dito sa Madrid sa Calle Atocha No. 43. Sa ngayon, makikita ninyo ang isang historical marker sa tabi ng gusaling ito. Noong February 15, 1889, lumabas ang unang La Solidaridad. 500 copies lamang ang kanilang kayang ipalimbag dahil ito lamang ang inabot ng ambagan ng mga kasapi. Unang pinatakbo ang pahayagang ito ni Graciano Lopez Haina at kinalaunay ni Marcelo H. del Pilar. Sang-ayon kay Rizal, kinakailangang ang La Solidaridad ang magsilbing mukha at boses ng mga Pilipino, kung kaya't kailangang maging makatotohanan, makatarungan at mahusay ito upang maipakita ang mabuting imahen ng mga Pilipino. Sa pahayagang La Solidaridad, inilimbag ni Rizal ang ilan sa mga kilala niyang artikulo tulad ng Filipinas dentro del 100 años o The Philippines within a century at ang Sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos o ang artikulo niya tungkol sa katamaran ng mga Pilipino. Sa akdang Filipinas dentro del 100 años, sinabi ni Rizal na kinakailangang ibigay ng Espanya ang mga hinihiling na reforma ng Pilipinas sapagkat kung hindi, ay ipaglalaban ng mga Pilipino ang kanilang pagsasarili sa hinaharap. Samantala, pinabulaanan naman ni Rizal sa artikulong Sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos ang bintang ng mga Espanyol na tamad ang mga Pilipino. Anya, hindi nahihikayat ang mga Pilipino na pagbutihin ang paggawa dahil sa hindi maayos na pamamalakad ng mga Espanyol, mataas na buwis, at hindi magandang infrastruktura sa Pilipinas. Malinaw sa mga propagandista na ang kinakailangan nilang isulong ay ang pagkakaroon ng representation ng Pilipinas sa Spanish Cortes o Spanish Parliament. Sa pamamagitan kasi nito, mas mapapahayag nila ang mga reformang pampolitika, pang-ekonomiya at panlipunan. Dito, sa Kongreso de los Diputados, sinubukang kumbinsihin ng mga propagandista ang mga politikong Espanyol na suportahan ang mga pagbabago para sa Pilipinas. Sa kabilang banda, may personal ding kaso na sinusundan si Rizal dito. Ito ay ang kaso ng kanyang pamilya at ng iba pang mga pamilya sa Kalamba dahil sa pagtutol nila sa pagtataas ng upa at buwis sa mga inuupahang lupang sakahan mula sa mga relihiyosong Dominiko. Habang nasa Brussels, Belgium noong July 1890, nakatanggap ng sulat si Rizal mula sa kapatid na si Pasiano. Ibinalita ng kanyang kuya na natalo ang kanilang pamilya sa kaso at umapela sila sa Tribunal Supremo de Madrid. Pinag-isipan ni Rizal kung uuwi siya ng Pilipinas upang samahan ang pamilya. Ngunit dahil sa payo ng kaibigang si Blumentritt at kahilingan ng kanyang mga kapamilya, nagtungo na lamang si Rizal sa Madrid noong Agosto 1890 upang sundan ang kaso ng Hacienda de Calamba. Kasama si Del Pilar at si Dominador Gomez, kinausap ni Rizal ang ilang mga pinuno sa Ministerio de Ultramar, ang iba't ibang mga pahayagan at mga politiko upang ipakita ang kalagayan ng Pilipinas. Ngunit bigo si Rizal na makuha ang atensyon ng mga nasa may kapangyarihan. Sa Pilipinas, ipinatapon ng kanyang kapatid na si Pasiano, mga bayaw at ilang Kalambenyo sa Mindoro. Sa pilitan ding pinaalis ang kanyang pamilya sa kanilang mga bahay at ari-arian sa Kalamba. Hindi maganda ang mga kaganapan dito sa Madrid noong huling bahagi ng 1890. May nagmungkahi kasi na palitan ng mga pinuno ng kilosang propaganda at ng La Solidaridad. Pero hindi naging maganda ang kinalabasan ng mungkahing ito. Sa halip kasi na pagkakaisa, nahati ang mga Pilipino sa pagitan ni Rizal at ni Del Pilar. Sa huli, nagtungo na lamang si Rizal sa Biarritz sa France at hinayaan kay Del Pilar ang pamumuno dito sa Madrid. Ang yugtong ito sa buhay ni Rizal ang isa sa mga magiging punto ng kanyang radikalisasyon. Pagkatapos ng insidenteng ito, mapapansin ang pagtindi ng kanyang mga kaisipang politikal. Gamit ang pseudonym na Laong Laan, sumulat siya ng isang bukas na liham sa wikang Tagalog noong October 1891 para sa mga kababayan sa Barcelona. Ayon sa kanya, ang parang ng paglalaban ay wala na sa Europa kung hindi sa Pilipinas. Doon dapat magtagpo-tagpo ang mga Pilipino upang ipaglaban ang mga nais nitong pagbabago sa bansa. Umalis si Rizal ng Madrid noong January 1891 at hindi na nakabalik sa Espanya pagkatapos nito. Produkto si Jose Rizal ng kanyang panahon at lipunang ginalawan. Panahon ng paglaganap ng kaisipang liberal noong dumating si Rizal sa Espanya. In the metropolis, the young Rizal was exposed to the liberal ideas of freedom, equal rights, and modernity. During his student years in Madrid, Rizal cultivated his intellectual, literary, artistic, and scientific pursuits. More importantly, he worked with other Filipinos and networked with progressive Spanish politicians to secure changes in the country. Ngunit, ang mga reformang ito ay hindi agad dumating sa Pilipinas, bunsod ng napakaraming hamon na hinarap ng Espanya sa mga huling taon ng kanyang imperyo. Sa Pilipinas, naging hudyat ito ng pagkilos para sa tuluyang paglaya ng bansa.
Halos isa't kalahating siglo na ang nagdaan nang huling bagtasin ni Jose Rizal at ng kanyang mga kasabayang Pilipino ang syudad na ito. Noong 1996, muling kinilala ang kanyang pagkabayani sa itinayong bantayog para sa kanya sa isang lugar na ipinangalan sa ating bayan, ang Avenida de Filipinas. Replika ito ng monumento na makikita sa Luneta Park sa Maynila.
Hanggang ngayon, nagpapatuloy ang kwento ng maraming Pilipino sa Madrid. Sa kasalukuyan, tahanan ito ng lumalaking komunidad ng mga Pilipino. Sa pagdaloy ng panahon, nananatili ang mga aral ng kasaysayan at ang mga pamanang kaisipan ni Rizal bilang tuntungan sa paglikha ng ating pagkabansa. Ngunit, nariyan pa rin ang hamon sa ating bilang Pilipino na sundan ng kanyang mga yapak upang matunton ang pagunlad bilang isang bayan.
Okay, let's get our speakers back. And please remember that we're now in the Q&A part. If you have questions, you can type in the chat box. And I am still receiving questions from social media. Maybe one question I have for the people who produce this. Is there a special experience that stands out to you that you'd like to share in the making of this? It could be in the process of thinking about it, producing it, or after it had been released. Was there a reaction to it that stood out to you, positive or negative? Is there anything that stands out in your experience of making this? So shall we start with JC?
Okay. Definitely, it will be the whole experience on its own, because this is the first time that we made such a video, because we were just like playing around with vlogging and we just really wanted to produce some silly videos of us covering our life here in Madrid. But then having this opportunity to actually make a video that's now being used as a resource.
Yeah.
As that's being shown to Filipino students, not only Filipino students, but people all over the world. I think it's, I don't know, I can't help but feel proud with like the team, and the fact that we were newbies. We didn't know how to, I mean, we had the basics, but the process of actually learning how to properly edit a video in a program, researching about like angles, researching about the terms, the technicalities of making such a documentary, that is like a growth on its own for us, for the three of us, for the whole team. And the fact that I would say, like what Jose Rizal was saying, what Ms. Ross said earlier about how Rizal was a little bit disappointed with Filipinos at that time because they weren't doing enough for their country. I felt like we did kind of the opposite. Might be too much to say, but like we're proud that even we're here in like abroad, that we could offer. We offered ourselves. We did something for country, and I don't want to.
Okay. So it was a learning experience and still is a learning experience for us because while while you were showing the video, we were having some reflections about it. What could have been done better? What else can we do next time? So we got to learn ourselves even better in this video. So we didn't know that we were good at something, at this directing or even editing, because again, what JC said, we were newbies at this. So everything was done with a research, content-wise, through Miss Ross, logistics, technicalities, everything. So it was holistic experience for me, for us, for the whole of us, for the whole team. So something that, again, going back to sharing this to the Filipinos, I think what we did was hashtag para sa bayan, because I always use that. And it's nice to represent the Philippines through the program that we're in right now and through this project at the same time. So not only for the Filipino audience, but also Spaniards, the whole world.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll also like to take this opportunity to thank the Philippine Embassy for such a great opportunity that was given to us. Someone like students who have no idea on how to be like professional documentarists, what I don't want to think of what they're called. We really literally started from scratch because we just like use basic program like iMovie. We started from iMovie, then we moved on to a much more professional software. So we really did have to learn everything, how to like the camera angles, as JC and Julina have mentioned, learning about the technicalities and learning about how to execute everything and having everything planned, because we just know like when we do vlogging it's very different, we just do everything on the spot. Compared to this one, we really have to do a lot of planning to execute every details and every how we're going to achieve um, the idea that we have in mind. So it's really a great experience for us that we can also, that people in the, let's say, academe industry can also be creative, because we are stereotyped that we're just like bookish people and stuff, that we can also be creative as long as we're given the platform and the avenue to do so.
And that was the aim actually. When Consul Mika told us about the idea along with Miss Ross, they wanted to reach like more audience because this is a historical documentary, but they wanted to get to catch the attention of the younger people. So that was like maybe that's why it was. I don't know. We were really proud of how it turned out because we were able to like incorporate the like our artistic views on it. We had our creativeness and like the content, the like heavy historical content that was provided by Miss Ross.
No, yeah, I could tell even the music. That's why I let them play the edits all the way
music
to because we're curious about the whole making of it. Ross, you too? Any experience that stood out to you? Any anecdotes? Any positive or negative reception?
The entire experience really was very, very memorable, and I learned a lot. I am camera shy, so the girls had to really tell me, ganito po dapat, look at this angle, and then try, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy that everybody in the team we were so passionate maybe about this project. So it turned out like this. And also maybe as a history teacher, because I've been teaching Philippine history, I guess maybe the realization also to maximize technology and the young vibe to teach history to our students. So that's one thing that I really appreciated more.
Are there more questions in conferences when you deliver a paper than reactions to this video in terms of the history?
Of course. Opo. Yes.
So many questions the history here.
Yes po. Yes. The number of views, likes, shares. Oh wow. I feel like we've really reached a bigger number of audience. I'm just very, very happy, using public history,
Yeah, yeah.
use new technology so that we can reach out to younger Filipinos and other non-Filipinos as well with the use of the three different languages in this video. So I'm just happy and
I must
grateful
admit,
for
I
this
felt the
opportunity.
sense of a citizen documentary, citizen-made documentary. I felt that especially towards the end when you were showing the Filipinos who were there now. It gave me that sense of the underside of history, and Rizal was part of it. Because, of course, Rizal rose to the highest ranks and has been enthroned in shrine-like levels. But, he lived like on the underside for some time, and this video made me feel that. So any parting shots from you, Conjen, Adrian?
What I just like to convey to the viewers is that this is just a sample of a walking tour of where one one illustrious personality lived, Filipino lived in Spain. But anyone can do a walking tour as long as, if I can add what Professor Ross had said, as long as there is passion into it. So for me, I would be looking forward to someone making a walking tour to UST, because UST itself is rich in history. Um, Ateneo also has a very rich history. I would like to see someone make a walking tour about all the famous personalities who studied in Ateneo. I hope this would just be a spark to make people also realize what uh, what pleases me, what is my interest, how can I share it to people, to everyone. So this is just a sample, but this is not the ending. I'll leave it to Consul Carlene.
Before I call Consul Carlene to do the wrap up and to finish our panel today, I just found it very helpful that this was made during a pandemic. You could see that in the video, people were in face masks or face shields, and it's something I could play on my phone as I'm walking somewhere, and it connects me to you across the world, to history, to Rizal. At the same time, it's something I can do on my own. It's really something. Wait, Paulo Pinto, before I call Consul Carlene, he wanted to make a final remark. Paulo, regarding Rizal. Yes, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I will just to add just a final remark, not exactly result, but well, this conference is about 500 years of contacts and continues, something that started 500 years ago. And here in Portugal, we have several projects going on. This conference is is a milestone on this. But we would like also to free ourselves from Magellan and from the 500 years, And so I would like, just because we are talking about the result today and what is happening nowadays, I think you possibly could know this work. Well, this is not known. The result is not known in Portugal, in a Portuguese-speaking world. It's not translated into Portuguese, and we are now actually moving on into a translation of the Noli Me Tangere into Portuguese. It's something that we have discussed with the embassy, the ambassador Cookie Feria in Lisbon, and she is very excited about this. And possibly we are moving forward now in the following months, and possibly next year we will have, for the first time, a translation of the Noli Me Tangere into Portuguese. So let's say goodbye to Magellan and to all those old stories, and to just keep focusing on the present and in the future. Thank you very much for the
Thank you, Paolo. Now I'd like to call on for her wrap up, Consul Carlene.
Yes, thank you for that. When I got here to Madrid, one of the things that Ambassador Luwilier always said was his impression was that he would come into a country where the relationship between the Philippines and Spain would be vibrant. Because on the side of the Philippines, our Spanishness is always there. It confronts us with our surnames in our language. It's always there. But he was surprised to see that it was not the case when he got to Spain, when he got to Madrid. And so the Philippine Embassy feels that burden, and we take it on as a challenge to strengthen or reignite that relationship between the two countries. So I appreciated the comment of Senor Pinto regarding the collective trauma of Spain. And maybe that's an explanation, and that's something that we can take into consideration when coming up with projects that would bridge the Philippines and Spain. No? As regards the four women who were pivotal in coming up with this, in completing this project, Jose Rizal said it that commented that a lot of Filipinos at the time that he was in Madrid wasted their time because they were lazy. I think he would find the four of you an exception. You are a model Filipino community. Anybody in the foreign service who would get to work with the Filipino community like you would be happy to have you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the sacrifices that you made in completing this project. And lastly, should there be a time when you have the chance to visit Madrid, I hope that one of the things in our agenda, in your agenda, would be to visit some of these sites, to be able to walk the steps of our forebears who laid the ground for our nationhood. No, it's an opportunity really. On the personal side, when I was there, it was very humbling for me, and I hope that if you do not have the opportunity to actually be here in Madrid, I hope that this is a close second to it. And I thank the Ateneo de Manila for your interest. I'm always happy to work with my alma mater. I hope that you'll be able to reach a wider audience with this virtual walking tour of Madrid. And on behalf of the ambassador, on behalf of my consul general, maraming salamat po for your interest. Thank you.
So, on behalf of Dr. Chas Navarro, who's really supposed to be today's moderator, but unfortunately, something really came up, and during this emergency, I stood as moderator in his behalf. But he organized on Ateneo's side of things. He was the one who organized this event. So, on his behalf, I'd like to say thank you, as usual, to the School of Humanities of Ateneo de Manila University, the SHAM, Centro de Humanidades Universidad Nova de Lisboa, and to the National Quincentennial Committee of the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. Thank you, everybody, for joining today's special panel. This has been Contacts and Continuities. Join us again on Monday, Cultural Flows and Reinventions, two panels, one in the morning at 10 to 11:30 and another in the afternoon from 4 to 5:30. See you on Monday. Bye, everybody.